Good evening. I'm audible, I'm visible. Yes? Great. Perfect. Okay, so we have an interesting set of topics again to do today. Very important, generally important for the examination. We'll do previous year questions also today. Previous year questions. And we have to do what we call as we will just revise drain of wealth as we did yesterday. And thereafter go into what is called transportation. A small section, transportation. Then we will discuss very important education policy. We will also discuss famines and a very important sequence of commissions in that. And thereafter constitutional history. And we'll enter constitutional history today, which is we will discuss Regulating Act 1773, Pitt's India Act 1784, Charter Act 1793, 1813, 1833, 53. We'll reach till 53. Most probably, I don't think all of the acts will be done, but we should be able to start and reach at least 1793 Charter Act. We'll see according to the pace of the class. That's a separate issue altogether. But we have to do something important with regards to previous year and famines, transportation. Famines is a small topic, but has now become important. UPSC asked a question, but that question was technically not on famines, but on economic impact. We'll discuss that also. And you already have the railways article by me. I hope that you have the access to that. You've been able to find that. You have access to that. You found the article. Yes, great. So that is also with you. So we just need to understand what is the telegraph and basic simple facts related to it. Simple facts related to it. So we'll wait 1 to 2 minutes. Yeah. See, Neil, I have told you, and I've said this multiple times, the basic point is that if there is a 10 marker and there's a 15 mark question, a 10 mark question, simply out of that 4 to 5 is considered very important. And out of this 7.5, 6 to 7.5 is considered very, very good. Very, very good. Now, the basic point of the matter is you are in this range, good enough. There will be no way you will get full marks. That is not the way UPSC works. And you will never get more than 50, 55%. So yeah, that is the basic point you need to understand here. That is a standard process. Sachin, refresh. How can it be that my body is visible, but my face is not visible? That can't be. Okay. If you're getting 50%, you are at a good point. You're at a good point in that sense. Yes, Sadhunsha. As I said, 10 marker, anything between 4 to 5, very, very good. 15 marker, anything between 6 to 7.5, very, very good. Very, very good in that sense. Okay, can we begin for today? Can we just revise drain of wealth again? Yes, great. So what we did yesterday was a chain of events, what we call is the economic history of British India. And we tried to understand how land revenue settlements developed. And thereafter, we were able to create a chain of events which were the cascading effect or the domino effect of the land revenue settlements, and how that aligned with the larger interest of the British in India, which is that we first understood very simply the concept of land revenue, Raitwari, Mehalwari, and what we call as permanent settlement, how they created landlessness and created a basic impact of overassessment, landlessness, peasants were now under pressure. That in turn will create the next effect, which is commercialization. Because they have to pay more, they go to cash crops. But that commercialization is very well aligned with the concept of what we call as the concept of the forced commercialization, which is that the British dictated what commodities we needed to produce. And thereafter, we saw how these two things had a larger effect on what we call as the weavers, which is deindustrialization, which is they were not able to pay off. And technically, two advantages they had. First, additional income from agriculture gone. Second, the fact that grains in India were very cheap because everybody produced a lot of grains. So that was now also gone. With that comparative advantage gone, weavers were now at the mercy of the British. And other than that, we also discussed why opium is important, why silk is important, the Nij system, the Rayati system. And we then culminated everything to a question which you remember I asked you 2 days back, which is how was India looted by the British? And the answer to that question is called drain of wealth. And we had to discuss the various channels through which the drain happened. So I hope everybody is with me till this point for sure, which is to understand the concept of land revenue, the concept of commercialization, and then after the commercialization, how it in turn becomes what we call as the deindustrialization process. So now let's try to understand drain again. But I explained it to you, but I will give you a brief in that sense again. What are the channels for loot via drain of wealth? And therein we discussed the first channel being the commodities and their export Basically, all traders were European or British, which meant that any export income went to English or England. So any income which was generated from what we call as export in turn went to the English. Second, we discussed the commodities themselves. The commodities as a trade item, because that allowed two things, which is substitution in China trade, and also no need to bring gold and silver to India. And basically the triangular trade in self, very well summarized, the triangular trade in that sense became the way of drain in that sense. Substitution in Chinese trade, which allowed them to not bring gold and silver. Any money saved by the British is technically a British income. But then we went to diverse channels. We had been discussing the commodities for a long time. Then we went to a very interesting and important channel, which is dividend and investment guarantees, which is that this is one point I'm again going to emphasize on, which is that any form of dividend which went to the shareholder was out of Indian profit or income or revenue. Therefore, the public which gained by the dividend which was transferred to the British or British citizenry or to the shareholders was all Indian income being transferred in a new channel. However, 40% of all drain happened in India. 40% of all drain happened in India via what is called home charges. And home charges are very, very important, because home charges are nothing but all cost incurred in India to rule it, from salary to pension to maintenance. Everything was paid via Indian revenue. We paid for the colonization process. And thereafter, last but not the least, is called what we call as store charges, which is that all equipment was bought in England so that the industries always had demand. So please understand this. The simple point is that this can come in prelims and mains both. Please, Zeba, we cannot every time dissect a topic into prelims mains. You need to understand this, that this can easily come as a prelims question. They can ask you, consider the following, and then ask you home charges, dividend, substitution, this, that, what are the channels of drain? Simple to simple point is that when we talk about the looting, when we talk about economic exploitation of India, people have a very simplistic picture of straightforward what we call as drain, but that drain was in diverse channels and was extremely nuanced, and basically India was exploited not just by revenue means, but any form of return or profit which Indians could have gained was not transferred to them itself. Is this clear? This is the exact thing I did yesterday before we left. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just read it out of the PPT and then we will summarize everything. Can we do this? Can we do this? Come on. Yes, great. So what is the channels of drain? What are the channels of drain? First is illegal transfers by company servants. This is technically the initial period. You have what? You have Mir Qasim and Mir Jafar giving so much money to Clive. What does he do? He takes it to England. So basically, profits out of land revenue, private trade by the company servants, and all the bribes were taken to England, and therefore they become the first and the most obvious channel in this whole concept. Then it is the dividend and the interest. Every shareholder getting even 1 ounce of dividend is technically Indian revenue. There was a 5% guarantee, which I will discuss with you very shortly, on railway investment, that if you invest £100, you will get 105 for sure. And more or less any form of debt which was created for public work in India was also funded by Indian revenue itself. So the basic point of the matter is, the fact is Indian revenue was used to transfer shares, to transfer the trade, to transfer as bribes, and to basically make sure that we were paying for our own colonization. But what is more important, and one much more important aspect in the larger context, is home charges. 40% of all the drain was home charges. Basically, the cost of ruling India was paid by an Indian itself. So every Britisher who lived in India had a certain cost, from pay to pension to training cost to the pay of Secretary of State in London. I'll tell you that even the London machinery which used to rule India was paid out of Indian revenue, and this was a major cost. This is the cost of colonization, and they were not even ready to pay for what they were incurring in the English sector. So in London also, if you were in the Indian office, which I will discuss with you when we'll talk about constitutional development, you Indians used to pay for it. And simple point is that if you add this 40% with the other store purchases, which account for 10 to 12% of that 40%, everything from civil to military to marine to engineering, all things were bought in the English market, and that is equally draining in that sense. Imagine if India, yes, Anubhav, imagine that in India buys pencils only from, for example, Kuwait. Everything, all stationery comes from Kuwait. So then who gains in that? Kuwait or India? Kuwait. Basically, The country which is supplying to us has a perpetual demand. We could have produced pencils ourselves. Any equipment produced in India would have technically led to development of industries in India, but that was also taken away from us. And this 40% is what really was draining India quite a lot consistently in that sense. And in the end, any foreign capital which came into India was also paid for in the interest, dividend, anything. So British investment in plantation, mines, cotton, jute mills, everything. Britishers set up factories here, made a profit and took it to England. So the basic point is, be it the agency houses which are funding these mills, be it the mills themselves, all industrial growth was technically going to England, and we had zero to none industrial growth. So I'll try to explain to you a much simpler way before we go on to famines. What is the whole concept of drain? Can I discuss this? We have now studied this twice, yesterday also and today also. Can I just summarize everything and basically end this topic? Because this is a very important point. We'll talk about it again when we'll talk about moderate politics and Dadabhai Naoroji. But this is something which you need to understand as a base. Is everybody with me? Is this clear? Because then I basically show you how it happens in an example. For example, see, India, there's an officer. Who pays for the salary of the officer? India does. First channel of drain. This officer takes a bribe, but will this officer invest the bribe money in India? Yes or no? No. So he will take this bribe to England. So basically it is again a negative to us. This is again a negative to us. This officer then says that I want to open a jute mill. I want to open a jute mill. But if the profit which will be generated by the jute mill, will he use the profit in India or he will take it to England? No, again, he will take this profit to England. Again, a negative. Then this officer also bought, for example, pepper and he sold it in England. If he sold it in England, the trader who is taking it is a Britisher, so he gains. And if it's sold in England, the profit, where will it go? Again to England. So again, negative to India. Then thereafter, this officer's office needed 500 pages and 50 pens. He needed stationery. So where was the stationery bought? Not in India, but in England. So if he's buying it in England, the retailer who they buy from is what? English. So again, a positive here, but a negative to India. Basically, everything was created in such a way that India was paying for our every aspect of rule. So literally, we paid for our own colonization and we didn't even realize it. So if people say that India was looted via taking the money out of Indian pockets, technically, that's not true. We rather gave it to the British in India itself and they ruled us on that money. They ruled us on that money. Simple to simple point is, if you look at all the channels of drain, the drain channels are very simple. Be it the commodity, export, income goes to that person. Be it the triangular trade, again, British does not need to bring anything. Dividend goes to a British. Either way, a British, it is, yes, stationery is purchased out of Indian money. Simple point of the matter is, somehow the gainer was always an English, and we were paying that money to the English to somehow take it as part of the national income of the English. So now, do you understand the concept of economic exploitation and the concept of drain of wealth? Great. Perfect. Can we all be on the same baseline? I want everybody's yes, because this is a very important chain, because famines are somehow thought as a separate thing itself. But no, famines are the innovation of the British in India. Okay, now. Great. It's very encouraging that everybody is with me in that sense. Percentage of stationery is 10 to 12% within this 40%. Okay. Now, they are not natural. Never, famines are never natural. There's nothing called a natural famine. Nothing called a natural famine. Listen to me. Now I'm shifting to the concept of famines. Please concentrate, because though a question came itself, but it's a very important concept. What is famine? Famine is basically the shortage of food, which in turn leads to the death of people. And famine can happen two ways. Either there is a shortage, or there is a major problem in purchasing power. Purchasing power. People dying of hunger is a famine. Is a famine. What does purchasing power mean? Basically, you can't afford the food itself. You can't afford the food. Shortage means that there is a supply issue. Now, if anybody ever asks you, what is that one thing which the British gave to us for sure? It's not the railways, it's not the telegraph, it's not the technology. It's famines. Because at the rate at which it used to happen, at the propensity and the scale at which it used to happen, was never ever seen in India since the dawn of man in India itself. Since the Indus Valley civilization, we have never ever seen so many famines at such propensity, one after the other, one after the other, one after the other. And it's not like 1, 2 lakh, 50 lakh, 10 lakh, 5 lakh, crores of people dying. So famines are the only real legacy of the British in India. And now if you ask a Britisher that why did famines happen in India, they will give you a very circular argument. Now listen to me. Propensity means the repetitiveness, the level at which happens, the probability of it happening. Now listen to me very clearly. If you ask the Britisher, they will say that because we were poor, famines were going to be natural. But in that argument, there's a flaw. The flaw is you made us poor. Be it shortage or be it purchasing power. Why was there an increase in the number of famines? The increase in the number of famines is because land revenue settlements do two things. First, it makes the peasant landless and poverty stricken. And that in turn means that they go for commercialization. And when there is commercialization, it will in turn lead to shortage, because basically the commercialization process, people will move away from grains to cash crops. So the shortage is also because of the land revenue settlement, and the purchasing power is also because of the land revenue settlement. Are you getting my point? Both are a product, not a cause. Both are products of colonialism, not causes of famines. So the British can really stop giving this argument that poverty in India was something which was a given. The British were trying to tackle it. On the other hand, it is the other way around, which is that the poverty in India was never a given. Rather, grain shortage was never a problem in India, and deindustrialization, commercialization, all were created by the British. So the two simultaneous impacts of land revenue settlements itself means that famines never happened at such a scale. So if they ask you a question, why did famines or propensity of famines, the the probability of having a famine, the number of famines exponentially increase in the Indian sector after coming of the British. Will you be able to create this link that it is a British induced famine? First point. Try to understand this. Fauzan, I don't know what you are trying to say through that comment. I don't get it. Rephrase it. The simple point is famines are an innovation, unfortunately. Are an innovation. Please understand this. Famines, if ever happened in India, were a rarity. But why is that in every decade there were 2 famines in India? This is the question. And technically, you know the answer to the question, and the answer to the question is already what we've discussed for last 4 to 5 hours, which is that the British technically produced the product. See, I'll tell you why. What is famine? Acute shortage of food grain in a given area due to natural or man-made causes. But in India, never did any natural famine happen. Now, the question which is posed to you is poverty a cause of famine, or famine causes poverty? The British would say that famine causes poverty. We would say poverty causes famine. Basically, it is the colonial economic policy which is the real cause. Let us be very, very honest. India, no one ever died at this scale. I will show you the scale also. The difference is, see, one is cause, one is an effect. I'll give you a very simple example. You failed in the examination because your preparation was weak. You are weak because you failed in the examination. These are 2 very different things. They're 2 very different things. Same way, British would argue, we never created poverty in India. We never created poverty in India. We were already poverty stricken and famines were because of that. We are arguing that you created poverty in India and therefore there were famines. Are you getting my point? Are you getting my point? One is cause, one is effect. British would say that we are not the cause. The effect is there. We say you are the cause. And at the end of the day, be it either way, it is a given that British created poverty in India. And that in turn led to famines. So what you do in this question is simply say or create the link which I've created in class, which is land revenue settlements lead to the concept of landlessness and peasant poverty. That in turn leads to purchasing power going down. At the same point of time, land revenue leads to forced commercialization. Forced commercialization means people are moving away from grains to cash crops. Therefore, automatically the shortage will be created, and that in turn produce famines in India. Are you getting my point? Because this is one cause. The British were so brutal that when it came to the 2 wars, the First World and the Second World War, they literally took the grains from India and fed the army, whilst people were dying in India. People were dying because of food shortage, and the British were taking our grains and feeding it to their soldiers in Europe. The simplest point is, if you understand the chain between land revenue, commercialization and deindustrialization, you automatically understand why would there be a famine one after the other, because systemically Bengali economy and Indian economy has been jolted. Can I now give you the level and a very important concept here, because what comes in the examination is not this. In the prelims examination, they will ask you what is called the concept of commissions, and that you would need to put in chronological order. Okay. So you don't have to learn this. Do not learn. Do not learn. What we rather need to understand here is basically what is the scale at which it used to happen. Now you see, under East India Company, there were 12 famines and 4 severe scarcities. 1769, 1770. If you remember, who's responsible for this? 1769, 1770. Famine in Bengal. 1/3 of the province population dead. Who was responsible for this? Very good. Robert Clive. Clive put in European supervisors. They went and disrupted the whole economy. And that in turn led to, now see, 1/3 of the province population gone. 33% of the population of Bengal was killed in this. Then 84 severe famine all over North India. Then famine in Madras 92. Famine in Northwest and Awadh again in 1803. 1833 Guntur famine. 2 lakh people dead out of 5 lakh. There was a 5 lakh population. 2 lakh were dead because of the problem of food. 40% people dead. Then there is in 1837 another famine, and the biggest point is that the British were so oblivious to this story, they didn't care. They said, what famine, which famine? We didn't do anything. We are traders. We are not doing anything. The basic point of the matter is the British under East India Company did not even formulate a policy because they didn't care. What does the East India Company care about? What does the East India Company care about? Money. Close to 10 to 15 lakh people were dead, and that's a very big number in 1800s. And the British were like, what famine? Nahi, hame to nahi pata. We don't know. What famine? Acha, it is happening in North India. We don't have anything to do with it. We were just taking revenue from Bengal. They are blind to it. They are literally blind to it. So now when you say that all famines are natural or based on poverty in India, you are the one which technically created it. Now, some of you, if you remember, we were discussing that Rayatwari is better, Mahalwari is better. If Rayatwari was better, then why Madras presidency famine is happening? Why is that Northwest is also under famine? Awadh is also under famine? If you look at it, nothing is better. And Clive said, whose fault is it? Reza Khan, he took all the money. You see the level of exploitation and then see their audacity. The audacity is no famine policy formulated under the East India Company. Now are you getting why I'm saying that the British created famines in India? And basically it is their economic policy which was responsible for it. Can we go a step further? Let's see if the crown was better. When the British crown takes over, did Queen Victoria care about the Indians or the beloved crown care about the Indians? The story is equally problematic. 10 severe famines in India under the British. Delhi-Agra region, 1860-61. For the first time, when this was the first time the authorities were ready to look into the causation, intensity of the famine. There will be also a report which will be submitted, Bread-Smith report. But the report was, these Indians eat too much. That is their problem. It is not our policy. They are poverty stricken. They don't have food to eat, and that is not our problem. So basically, no concept of causality that it is us, and basic principle is go and give them food. We know that they need food. Then in 1866, Orissa famine. Orissa, Madras, Bihar, Northern Bengal, 13 lakh people killed in Orissa alone, and no steps taken. When crowd took over after 1857, 1858. After this is 1858. We will discuss that. Don't worry. 1857 is coming. The basic point of the matter is that 68, northern and central India, it became a joke. It literally became a joke. And it will now take them another 20 lakh people to figure out what to do. So are you understanding that total there were, and this is a conservative estimate, that 13 lakh. This is an official figure. If you actually go with the real figure, it would be close to 20 lakh. If you look at it, 22 famines have happened, and still they are saying, we didn't do it. It's not our problem. We will give you relief. We will give you relief. You are too hungry. We will give you relief. So very simply, see, you don't have to learn this data. I am trying to create a picture in front of you. I told you that the British were the reason for famines. And if you don't believe it, then why is that after 1765, there's one after the other famine? This data is not to be learnt, is to be felt, is to be understood as testimony to the fact that famines became a common reality in India. And by the time we come to 76-78 period, Great Famine affected Madras, UP, Punjab. Many villages were fully depopulated. R.C. Dutt, a very important nationalist, believes 5 million people perished in a single year. How much is 5 million? How much is 5 million? You tell me. In lakhs, how much is 5 million? 50 lakh people died in a year. 50 lakh. Between 1850 and 1900, 2.8 crore people died because of famines. And thereafter, the British will start to realize that this has become a problem. 2.8 crore in 50 years. This is horrifying. And they don't have a sense of guilt. Zero. According to them, Indians were the reason for their own problem. And there's a very, very, very cryptic line which even the much celebrated Churchill says. Churchill was the British Prime Minister when the Second World War was happening. Churchill was asked by a reporter that there is the Great Bengal Famine which is happening in India, and that was because all the food grains in India had been diverted to England. So thereafter, Churchill said that if so many famines are happening in India, why hasn't Gandhi died? That is his explanation, that if people are so hungry in India, Gandhi should have died for it, or Gandhi would have died in it. That is the level of obliviousness. I'm not saying this for theatrical effect, but you need to understand the gravity of colonialism. Sometimes we don't actually feel, because we are a generation which has the privilege of being born into independent India. With the constitution, the comfort, the cushion, the bed on which we sleep is the Indian constitution, which shields us from a lot of things. But these people died because the British only wanted profit, only wanted money. And what is the irony of this story is it will take us 100 years to realize this. 100 years to realize that we were being affected. Gravity, context, and scale clear. Because then we have to discuss a very important concept, which is what is their response. Now, in response, there are 3 commissions which you need to know about. Strachey, Lyell, McDonnell. and I'm going to give you an acronym for this so that we can easily remember this. SLM. If you are not comfortable with it, Stralima, whatever it may be, this can be asked to in the examination to put in chronological sequence. Consider the following: Strachey, Lyell, McDonald. Put it in chronological order. Basically, you need to know which one was which. Which one was which. So SLM works for you because I will do it for education policy. There's again another a very, very good acronym which I will give you. But I hope that you are able to first learn SLM. These are commissions which the British established in order to study it. So when the Strachey Commission was established, in the unedited PPT there is much more detail if you want to read, but here relief should be taken in the form of supply of raw grains and money or cooked food. Well, obviously, suggested suspension and remission of land revenue and rents, which is basically that if there is a famine which happens, then you don't take land revenue from them. Then in 1883, a famine code will be established, after which there will be a certain protocol they will put in. However, the irony of the story is that will again be followed by a great famine in India, which will affect every province. In response to this, they will establish the Lyell Commission. Lyell Commission will say the same thing: famine code should be there, province should be responsible, we need to help them, we need to do this, we need to do that, but no sense of responsibility. And last but not the least is McDonald Commission, in which the famine commissioner in every province were to be appointed, and they were expected to go around and understand the problem itself. The simple point is this is called piecemeal approach. Piecemeal means Strachey, Lyell, McDonald, all three had the same problem. Something happens, they respond. We are very good at doing that also. Anything happens in India, but what do? We establish a commission. A building fell, commission. A bridge fell, commission. This we've learned from the British itself. If there's something you want, put a commission. They have done it in the form of responses to famines. But the irony of the fact is that even before we got independence, 5 years before we got independence, 30 to 45 million people were basically killed in a man-made epidemic and famine, because first there was famine and then there was malaria, cholera, smallpox, malnutrition and starvation. And the cause for that was that all food in India had been diverted to the army. What is the period of the Second World War? (39-45). First World War is 14 to 19. Basically, they fed their army whilst Indians were dying. It got even more bad because of gross mismanagement, deliberate profiteering, rationing methods were blatant, and import from rice from Burma and Southeast Asia was stopped. And there was also a crop failure in Bengal since 1938. See, all this data, what you have to remember is SLM, Strachey, who says that if there is a famine, don't take land revenue from them, but the damage is already done. Thereafter, a famine will again happen, provisional famine code will come, but then Lyell Commission, a response to the Great Famine of 97, and then McDonald Commission in the 20th century saying famine commissioner should be more responsible. Obviously, the simple point is simple. It's not 14 to 18, 19. When the Treaty of Versailles is signed, we believe that the war is over, which is 19. Now, simple, very simple. Listen to me. 18 is armistice, 19 is, I'll teach you world history, I will tell you, 18 is armistice, 19 is end of the war. Now listen to me very clearly. We technically finish the economic impact or economic policy of the British. We discussed land revenue. And I hope that if you're sitting there, you understand the gravity of what I've told you right now, which is that close to 5 to 8 crore people died in India because of gross mismanagement of the British. And everything which I'm going to write on the screen is actually the reason for these people dying because of just the British wanting some money out of India. These people were innocent, had not done anything. And they just died because the British were so insensitive to this issue that they didn't even want to create a code before 1880. Their rule in India started in 1765. Their first regulation comes in 1880. So you imagine how much time they had obviously been oblivious. Starts in 1765, first is in 1880. And more than that, Crown took over in 1857 or 1858. 30 years of Crown rule and nothing at all. Nothing at all. What to remember in the commission? Their sequence. SLM. Can you do that? Can you remember the sequence of SLM? Yes or no? Yes? Perfect. That is the only thing you need to remember for the examination. So, land revenue plus commercialization plus deindustrialization plus famines plus drain of wealth is what is the economic policy of the British. And the basic outcome here is death, landlessness. Commission was established in 1880, which means Crown rule. Death, landlessness, destruction, drain, loot, and all forms of industries did not exist. If there was one word which defined economic policy of the British, it is disastrous. Destroyed each and every province is a state, Pritam. Each and every man, woman, peasant, weaver, industrialist, and every Indian was impacted. The famines were the man-made natural disasters, or rather man-made disasters which used to happen in India. And famines are technically a cumulative impact of land revenue, commercialization, deindustrialization. So provisional famine code is that you have a protocol, what to do when a famine happens. But you don't have to learn it. You're not a famine inspector. Simple point. Before I go to the previous year questions, rather I would like to do previous year questions with you. Simple point is everything making sense? Because I have created a certain picture in front of you. For example, I talked about advent. Then I talked about expansion. Then I talked about don't have to do characters of the commission. Don't do a thesis on SLM. There is a lot of commissions I need to discuss with you. Don't complicate it for yourself. Advent, expansion, consolidation, and now what we call as economic impact. I hope you are understanding the logic of where I am going with this, which is that I am systematically creating a picture in front of you. Because we don't live in the colonial period itself. The basic point of the matter is that we have to create a picture. So I discussed how they came, how they conquered, and how they now extracted. Once previous year questions is done, then I'll discuss with you the social of that. What is the moral justification the British gave us, which is education policy. Is this clear? If everybody says yes, then we do questions and see whatever we've done till this point, are you able to perform or are you able to understand the questions itself? Done? Great. Now what I want from you is difference between annexation and consolidation. Annexation is to conquer, consolidation is to then consolidate or basically control it in a certain way that it becomes stable. First thing point, SLM, please remember, Strachey, Lyell, and what we have as the last one, McDonald. 2 rules. Sit up, have to hold the screen. I'm going to push a poll to you. The polling feature, 4 options are going to come in front of you. I'll give you a 30-second timer. 30-second, or we'll see. 30-second is enough, I hope. SLM is nothing but the 3 commissions. Strachey, Lyell, McDonald. That is it, what you remember. Simple point is 30 seconds. Everybody is going to read. I will read the question to you. You will answer and we will understand the question thereafter. Remember the questions. Mauli, these questions are till this point. Thereafter, what I do today, the questions are for separate issue that we'll do next week. That is not the point. Can we do previous year questions? Is everybody awake and with me now? Yes? Great. Perfect. We've been waiting for this. Now, finally, we've done so many things that I can do previous year questions with you. First, 2021. Consider the following statements. Read it with me. Saint Francis Xavier was one of the founding members of the Jesuit order. It's been a while we did this. Saint Francis Xavier died in Goa and a church is dedicated to him there. The feast of Saint Francis Xavier is celebrated in Goa each year. This question is extremely easy because one fact you know and you will automatically get the answer. I will teach you a method today which is important. Okay. Let us take the question. 45 seconds, 4 options in front of you, and you need to answer. Come on. It should pop up in front of you. Do not remove it. If you remove it, it will not come back again. Choose from A, B, C, D, and you just have to answer it. Use your basic knowledge which we've discussed in class. All questions are not naturally being done. What will happen is once I've covered a certain number of themes, we'll discuss the previous year questions of that. So whatever I'm doing today is what has come till this point from all these things. Mains questions I will discuss with you on Monday. Today I wanted to basically concentrate on prelims questions. Yes. Bhavna, the question is in front of you. Wow. Great. Never seen this percentage. 62% C, 10, 11, 17. I don't know who's teaching you modern India, but you understand modern India for sure. Okay. See, this question uses very simply elimination, which is, if you remember, I told you that Saint Francis Xavier was literally, he died in China and he was literally taken out from his grave in China, brought back to India and then reburied. He died in Goa. No, he died in China. And then there is a church dictated to him. Now, the beauty of this question is, as soon as you know this is the wrong statement, tap. Automatically, we've covered till economic policy, module number 7. So the answer automatically comes to you. This is called elimination. I don't care if the first and third statement is correct or not. The answer is giving me the question is giving me the answer. Why care? Though, yes, he's a Jesuit. If you remember, I told you, a person who is a Christian missionary who converts, founding member of Jesuits in India. And yes, there's a proper feast which is called the Feast of Francis Xavier Feast. It is called, happens every year in Goa. But this question Is it a previous year question? Yes, it says 2021. I'm not making these questions up. All previous year questions. This question, is it difficult or it only needs basic understanding? Basic understanding. See, now 2021 again, this theme, the initial 3-4 themes, a lot of questions came in 2021. Okay. The Nizamat of Arcot emerged out of Hyderabad state. The Mysore kingdom emerged out of Vijayanagara Empire. The Rohilkhand kingdom was formed out of the territories occupied by Ahmad Shah Durrani. Which of the statements are correct? Okay, come on. Just use your basic knowledge of regional kingdoms. I gave you the stories, how they came out, and basically you need to understand how they were created. Salam, you are reading the question the other way around. It's which of the following statements are correct, not incorrect. Please read the question very properly. Very properly. This is, we have studied Rohilkhand. We've discussed Rohilkhand. But that doesn't really matter. I'll tell you how to approach it. 46, 19, 20%, 15%. Very good. So 46% of you that see. Was the Nizamat of Arcot, Sadadullah Khan, under the Hyderabad state of Nizam? Yes or no? Yes, Shalu. Yes. Basically, he was able to carve out as soon as Nizamul Mulk Asaf Jah emerged. Perfectly correct. So there has to be one option. This is basically, you only need to know one only. There's only one option which has one. That is the basic point. So if you know the answer to this, you don't even need to go further. But still, this is the beauty of this question. The basic point is Mysore, Vijayanagara Empire. Yes, Mysore, Vijayanagara leads to Vodeyar. Vodeyar leads to Hyder Ali. Thereafter, this is also correct. But if you know that one has to be correct, then automatically 1 and 2 is the answer. And Rohilkhand is not under Ahmad Shah Durrani. Who's the person we talked about? In Rohilkhand? Ali Muhammad. Very good, Pranay. Very good. Ali Muhammad Khan. Perfect. Now tell me, what do you need to answer this question? What do you need as a part of your strategy? Revision, basic information. Ali Muhammad Khan is the person who was able to carve out a part of the Mughal Empire as a rebel state. We've discussed this in class. But what you need for this question is revision. But still 50% of you are able to reach to the point. The basic point is, if you're not getting it, what you need is revision. If you're getting it, perfect. Can we move on? Again, the examiner has been very kind to us because the options are very easy. And this is a very standard thing which happens when the question is very difficult. The option is sometimes very easy. Very easy. Okay. Now this is a difficult question. And I want you to read it very properly, which is, in the first quarter of 17th century, listen to me. First quarter of 17th century, in which of the following were the factories of the English East India Company located? Broch, Chikkakol, and Trinopoli. 1 only, 1 and 2 only, 3 only, 2 and 3 only. Now, I'm going to push the question to you, but then we will discuss why the answer is what it is. Try to imagine and understand what I taught you with regards to concessions, and I have given you certain dates for these concessions. First quarter of 17th century, where were the factories of the East India Company located? You only need to know the Farman knowledge, and you just need to know what does it mean first quarter of 17th century. First quarter of 17th century. Come on. Great. Really encouraging. Perfect. Pat your backs. Very difficult question. 56% A, B 15, 17, 13. If you're not getting it, just revise. See, what is first quarter? Quarter is how many years? Quarter is how many years? 25? 1/4? It is asking you between 1600 and 1625, where were the factories of the East India Company located? Within this period, there were only two farmans which were given. 1613 and 1615. Who gave the farmans? Who gave the farmans? Very good. Great. Perfect. Jahangir. Jahangir gave these farmans. After this, the next farman will be 1632, then 39, then 51. Golden farman. Thereafter, the farman of Chandragiri, Madras, and then the Shah Suja farman. Now, 1613 gave them what? Surat. And 1615 gave them Bengal, Mauchlypatnam, Agra, Ahmedabad, and Bharuch. Bharuch. Trinopoli. In what context have we studied Trinopoli? Where did I talk about Trinopoli? Very good. Carnatic War. Second Carnatic War. Trinopoli is where Muhammad Ali was, where the French and Chand Sahib were concentrating. This obviously could have not been an option because Carnatic Wars are happening in 18th century, 1740. So this would have utterly gone. You only needed to decide if Chikakol was there or not. And Chikakol is technically modern day the Vishakhapatnam sector. This question is difficult. But if you have basic knowledge of 1613 and the 1615 farmans and what was granted, and you trust the information, you don't even need to get confused with Chikakol. Chikakol has just been pushed as a random term. Srikulam area the coastal territory of Andhra Pradesh is called Chikakol. But again, I trust my information. Is this making sense? A lot of you would be between A and B, you would be totally caught up. I totally get it. If you get this question, then you are trusting the data and then you're trusting your knowledge. And this is the basic point. You have to trust what you know. And basically, I'll tell you a basic trick for anybody who was put off by 17th. The century is always one forward. 1600 is called 17th century and 1700 is called 18th century. What century are we in? 21st, because we are in 2023. So 2000 will be called 21st. Can I move on? Can I move on to the next question? This was the most trickiest, more or less trickiest of all of them. Great. Are you now getting the point of what we have been doing for the past 8 classes, whatever it may be? The basic point of the matter is you don't have to get caught up into nitty-gritties. Basic conceptual understanding will be enough. Okay. Now, 2020. Wellesley established the Fort William College at Calcutta because, and 2020 is the year of the question, it's not part of the question. He was asked by the board of directors at London to do so. He wanted to revive interest in Oriental learning in India. He wanted to provide William Carey and his associates employment. He wanted to train British civilians for administrative purpose in India. Come on. This should be again slam dunk. Now I'm going to 30 seconds because you don't need that much time for this question. Okay. Come on, everybody is going to answer. 20th century would be 2000 to 2000 to 2999. 3000 would be that way. 2000 to till 2199. It would be 21st century. You all are on fire, literally fire emoji. 82% correct. 3%, 9%, 6%. Great, wow. He wanted, if you remember, Fort William College was then shut down by the Court of Directors. Why? Because it was considered that it was going to become a parallel power center. So, Board of Directors did not ask for it. That was the only option which was a little bit difficult. Revive interest in Orientalist learning. Wellesley is not an Orientalist, which I'm going to discuss what it is. And William Carey and his associates, it's randomly pushing names to you to put you off. You back your knowledge and you basically know that it is only for administrative training. Here, a very important, these all are previous year questions. There is no, I'm not changing the questions or options. These are seeming easy to you because you know modern India now. If it's looking easy, it's a good thing. Don't, now what you're doing is you're overthinking your own preparation. I was going to talk about this. Never overthink in UPSC. So don't be like, how do I know these questions? We've been putting in the time. We've been putting in the time, and the understanding is helping you come to the answer. So don't overthink your own success. Don't do that. Don't do that. And for anybody who's not getting it, it should not be demoralizing or demotivating. What you need is only one revision. That is it. So this, how am I getting it, is a good thing. It's a good thing. That's a good thing. If you're getting even one question correct, means that even without revision, you're understanding. Right? You're getting my point. Can I move on? Can I move on to the next question? Yes? Great. Now, this is again a very easy question. Which of the following statements correctly explains the impact of Industrial Revolution on India during the first half of the 19th century? Indian handicrafts were ruined. Machines were introduced in Indian textile industries. Railway lines were laid in many parts of the country. Heavy duties were imposed on the import of Indian manufacturing. Okay. Here, what the examiner wants is, can you overthink? Can you really overthink? Well, Satyajit, it's a brave new world now. Come on. Don't overthink, because a lot of you, I know your hands are going to 2-3 options. Don't overthink. Understand the difference between cause and effect. Great. 63%, and I knew that there will be a distribution of 12, 11 and 14. 63%. Great. Perfect. See. Explains the impact of Industrial Revolution. Obviously, this is the impact, which is deindustrialization. Nothing but this is a deindustrialization being explained to you. Machines were introduced in never. British can't do good things to us. Heavy duties were imposed on British manufacturers. Heavy duties were imposed on imports of, again, something good for Indian economy, can't do it. Railway lines were laid in many parts of the country, is to facilitate. It's not an impact, it's a facilitator, which leads to deindustrialization. We'll discuss, we're coming to railway lines. This is the next thing which we discuss is railways only. Are you understanding this point? Great, Sachin. Now, again, this is a tricky question, but this question only needs understanding. 2018. Which one of the following does not apply to the system of subsidiary alliance introduced by Lord Wellesley? Remember the ad which I showed you, which was shown to that ruler. To maintain a large standing army at others' expense, to keep India safe from Napoleonic danger, which means French, to secure a fixed income of the company, to establish British paramountcy over Indian states. Paramountcy means domination. Okay. I'll give you time here. I'll give you 15 seconds more. Read it closely. I want you to read it closely. You need to know which is not part of the scheme. A lot of you are saying a lot of things. Understand why would they need such a big army in India? A lot of you're answering an option which you are just hastily not going for the understanding. There's one option in this which is a slam dunk, not part of subsidiary alliance. Nitesh, wrong. Come on, yaar. Yashika again. Yashika, yes. Very good. A lot of you are now pivoting away. Don't. A lot of you, see. I know that most of you answered B, but B is not the right answer here. The answer here is C. You listen to me. You listen to me. Lord Wellesley introduced subsidiary alliance. What were the clauses? They can maintain a large standing army at others' expense. This is actually subsidiary alliance. Yes or no? The British can technically control internal and external foreign policy, and they were now going to become paramount power. So this is also correct. So these two can't be the option. Now tell me one thing. Where did it say in the whole subsidiary alliance aspect that the ruler will pay a fixed income or a fixed cost to the company? The ruler will maintain the expense of the standing army, but he is not going to transfer a fixed income. Transferring a fixed income, basically, if you know that it says others' expense, then this was the one which was the answer. There is no fixed income cost. But the question is, why not B? The second or third most important clause of the subsidiary alliance was no other European power should be in your territory and no other European should be employed in your area. Napoleonic danger means French danger. Weren't the Anglo and the French, the English and the French, fighting with each other? So by having a large standing army, that was an advantage which the British had over the French. This is a part of their larger scheme. It will keep their Indian colonies safe from the French. The fact is, Napoleon period is between 1799 to 1815. This is Napoleonic period. When you do world history with me, I will tell you this. Basic point is, this period, you tell me, why was the Fourth Mysore War fought? Why was the Fourth Mysore War not fought? Fourth Mysore War. It was fought because Tipu Sultan was now seeking help from Napoleon. So basically, subsidiary alliance will be introduced at the same point of time to have a big force. This is why the French lost in India. What put you off is this: keep India safe. There's no internal. This question, what does it, this question is factual or conceptual? You tell me. It's a conceptual question. That is why I scream at the top of my voice to tell you that understand the concept. Subsidiary alliance is never about fixed income. It was enjoying on someone else's money. Technically, subsidiary alliance is like taking a treat from your friend. You don't care how much your friend actually pays. You are enjoying at his expense. You don't take a fixed income from him. Overthought, got confused, the separate issue altogether. But now, are you getting the point of all discussions which we do? Is this making sense? Yes? So now when you look at Napoleon's name, understand the implication. Okay, great. Economically, one of the results of the British rule in India in 19th century was the increase in the export of Indian handicrafts, growth in the number of Indian-owned industries, commercialization of Indian agriculture, rapid increase in urban population. Come on, this 30 seconds. Come on. Everybody knows the answer to this. Income, fixed income comes from where? It comes from the land revenue settlements. Yashika, why are you again, what is the logic of writing that option? 84%. If you're literally thinking like a Britisher, great. That is what I want you to do. Think like a Britisher, because then you will never get an answer wrong. 9, 3, 84, 4%. You know, see, this is positive, this is positive, this is positive. Increase in the number of Indian handicraft. No, deindustrialization. Growth in the number of Indian-owned factories. Never. They never gave us anything. Increase in the number of urban population. Deindustrializers, ruralization, landlessness. See, what you need to understand is that I told you, is deindustrialization, is commercialization a positive impact or negative impact? And this is what I told you, forced commercialization. So you see, think like a Britisher. What would a Britisher do in this situation? This question again is a conceptual question. Do you understand the larger context of what you are doing? Now, come on. This is the last question. Thereafter, we move to transportation. This question is a little bit tricky, but you need to understand the way our trade profile change, and you will come to the answer. The staple commodities of export of the East India Company from Bengal in the middle of 18th century were raw cotton, oil seeds, opium, sugar, salt, zinc, lead, copper, silver, gold, spices, tea, cotton, silk, salt, pepper, and opium. Okay. This question will be a little bit tricky. I totally get it. And there will be two options in which you will actually. Staple means standard. Have we done deindustrialization? Yashika, yes, we have done deindustrialization. What is saltpeter? Saltpeter is mixed with barood, with gunpowder to make it ignite. Yes, we did it yesterday. Very good. The answer is going to be between A and D. I know that. Well, wow. Well, we're really impressed. Great. 23, 3, 14, 60%. Very good. Very good. Encouraging that ways. Very encouraging that ways. So I can go one step further now because I know that you're understanding. See, middle of 18th century means what? 1750. Were we colonized in 1750 before or after? after 1757, 1765, all come after. So it means that the British have not changed our profile. Now the UPSC played a game here. All of this is immaterial, all of this is immaterial, all of this is immaterial. The question was, do you know the difference between cotton and raw cotton? So, see, all of that is put as filler. India, before the coming of the British, was a net exporter of textile, which is cotton. But once we were in the British era, we got in a way colonized. They made us the exporter of raw cotton. Why were we made an exporter of raw cotton? Why we made a exporter of raw cotton? What was the purpose of the raw cotton? Yes, the Industrial Revolution. So basically, it is the Industrial Revolution which shifted. And if you remember, in commercialization, I had a slide that the textile industries were not happy. They wanted the cloth from India to be put on a lot of duty, and India could become a raw cotton exporter. If this answer is D here, if the question would have said middle of 19th century, then what would be the option? Then it would have been A. But if it's saying middle of 18th century, it has to be D. Again, conceptual interpretation of data. Done? Prashant, I can do more, but if I ask you a question on August Toffer and Cripps mission right now, I have not taught you that only. So we will do as we go on. I'll keep on asking questions. Monday, I'll do some mains questions also with you. But I hope till this point, everybody was able to get something positive out of this discussion. Raw cotton is raw cotton, cotton made into textile is cotton. Simple point is raw cotton is cotton, the balls of cotton. Cotton textile is when you make, I'm exporting this, right? Simple point. Is everybody now a little bit aligned with my vision of what we are trying to do here? And you get the point of the discussions which we are doing. And last but not the least is, I will do all questions with you systematically. But what I want you to do is, first, trust the data, trust the PPT. Second, trust yourself with that data. And third, stop overthinking. UPSC is not a school examination. They don't care about dates. They don't care about factual things. They want conceptual understanding. One question is incorrect. All are incorrect. All are correct. None is correct. Doesn't matter here. You have not done one. You have actually not done one revision. You have not even touched the book. You have only studied with me, listened to me for the past 8 classes. And if that is what makes you do only 3-2 questions, that is more than enough. You will improve. I will make sure that you improve. If you're already there, let's take you to the next level. Done, everybody? Chronologies are important, not dates. Perfect. And if you have been able to solve all the questions, and if you find them easy, don't think of yourself as changing. It's a good thing. Basically, now you're understanding modern India. Perfect. Raw cotton exported due to Industrial Revolution. Before that, we were exporting calicos, muslin, what are called cotton textile. Okay. I will see you now at what is 6:35. Let's take a break here. When we come back, we talk about railways, we talk about telegraph. I show you what is a telegraph. But the most important discussion, education policy and constitutional development. Done? Everyone. Mysore was a successor state of Vijayanagara state because Vijayanagara state gave way to Vodayar. Vodayar gave way to Mysore. So that is the basic point in which you need to understand. Just need a break. Just need revision. You will be able to do even more complex questions. Don't worry about that. Okay. Today you realize that the PPT is more than enough. Yes, that is true. Perfect. Thank you. Welcome back. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Okay. Now, we now start a very important theme wherein we're slowly but surely shifting away from the economic now, but somehow everywhere economic will come through. But basically, we need to remember simple points here, means of communication and transportation. If for this I have given you the article, my own article, the SMEs. Can you just push the railway article again? Push the railway article again. Though I will give you basic information also which is needed. So before the British came through, we used what are called bullock carts, camel, pack horses, big caravans in that sense. You would have seen it for sure with a certain type of animal here, and they used to take it on long distance. The British, when they came to India, they realized that the rivers can be used for steamship purposes and for transportation of goods. And they also started to revive a very important road which connected Bengal to Multan, which is still today there, which is GT Karnal Road, or what we call as Grand Trunk Road. If you live in Delhi and in any part of North India, you would know there would be one road which would be going through the GT road called the Grand Trunk Road. Steamships are nothing but ships which have steam engine so that they can go against the water flow also. But it is by 1830s they started to realize that we need to exploit India more. And exploitation of India was about connecting the raw material points with the port cities. So very simply, the 1831 period, when the British started to become a little bit stable, they now started to introduce the concept of railways. But the first type of railways which they introduced was a coach drawn by horses, which technically makes no sense because that is not a train. A train has an engine. It is just a horse drawing a wagon on a track. Makes no sense. And the first proposed railway construction, steam driven, what is called the steam engine, was introduced in 1834. But the problem is that railway needs a lot of money. And the East India Company does not really want to put a lot of money. So what they did was, they technically created what are called companies, which were private companies in which if you put your money into it, you were guaranteed a 5% return by the government of India, British government of India. Simple point is, they did not want to put their own money because that's a major investment and they don't know if it is going to be a success or not. So the initial capital was actually private. They are very, very conscious of what they're technically doing. So the private aspect of this story is that it's like a bond. You buy a bond that, okay, I will invest 1,000 pounds into it and I will get 1,050 pounds for sure. There was a guaranteed, be it the railways is not going to work doesn't matter, but basically they gave a guaranteed income. Is this, if it is happening in 1834, it is non-crown. Crown rule is after 1857. First understand, tell me, is this a type of drain or not? It is basically the government of GOI means British government of India. British government of India. This topic is called transportation. Now the simple point is that finally the first railway line, how drain? Because if you give a guarantee on an investment, where does that 5% come from? Indian revenue. The British government revenue will give it out of Indian revenue. So first railway line is between Bombay and Thane, Thane, same thing. And please remember this date. For your general knowledge, you should know 1853. And it is Dalhousie who proposed 4 main tracks linking all the major ports. And basically by 1869, there was close to 4,000 miles of railways in India. But as it will become more and more costly and slow, the government of India would then have to also pitch in, making it technically PPP, public-private partnership. So initially it starts fully as a private partnership, a private company, but later the government started to come through and also fund it. So basically public-private public partnership is the larger model. What you need to remember, nobody is asking you this, is this map. Is this map? Are you following me? East India Company, British government of India and East India Company are the same thing. East India Company sits in England. What is here is that. Simple point is, initially pack horses, but that does not allow the exploitation of India. So they will introduce, this is the first railway map of India. As I said, East India Company sits in England. Therefore, the government which they produce, the governor of Bengal, he is called the government of India, British government of India. Now you can see that there are basic nodes here. One is Bombay, the other is Calcutta, the next one is Madras. Then there were sections which were connecting to the Central Asian sector. But all lines more or less flow towards these port cities. Because at the end of the day, at this point in time, the capital of India is Calcutta. The basic point of the matter is that these networks were not being created for the betterment of the Indians. It was created for the exploitation of India. However, railways had a major unintended consequence. What was that unintended consequence? Yes, to have quicker gain of wealth. What was that unintended consequence? Yes, very good. Basically, the more they connected India, the more the people got to know, okay, they're exploiting you also. So a person used to go from Calcutta to Bombay and say, I was exploited in Calcutta. So a Bombay guy says, yes, I was also exploited by them. Basically, the more they connect India, the more the people become conscious of their exploitation. The problem was that when they localized exploitation does not lead to larger mass nationalism. It is the railway which unintendedly connected India in such a way that basically people could now feel that yes, the British are together exploiting us. Are you getting my point? The railways were built as a concept of exploitation of India, but the unintended consequence was mass nationalism. If you will read, is this important? No. I'm trying to explain to you. I'm now setting the stage for nationalism also for you. If you will read my article, it will emphasize on this point, which is what was the purpose and how the basic purpose was solved, but also created an unintended consequence called nationalism. Don't have to do a thesis on railways. Don't have to do anything. Simple point is, the British did it to exploit India further. That is why all things go to the port city so as to export out of India. However, people became more and more connected. Is this clear? Is this clear? Great. Now, one more technology was introduced in India because of this very big network of railways, and that is called the telegraph. That is called the telegraph. Now, why is the telegraph so important? See, understand one thing. Railways are the base. Why do you need telegraph if there is railways? See, a train left a station and is going to the next station. How will you tell that? Basically, as soon as the train used to leave, the telegraph was sent to the next station that the train has left. They used to receive it and they know that now the train is coming. That is why it is believed that railways and telegraph go together. If you don't have a telegraph, then how do you get to know that the train is where? This is the basic point. Telegraph was a very important technology because through electronic messages and what is called the Morse code, you can send messages within seconds. And it's a very standard thing. It's a very standard thing. When you push down on this, the way a telegraph works is very simple. The way a telegraph works is very simple. This is technically a electrical circuit. So you have the telegraph, and this is connected to a receiver, and a person is on the other end receiving the electrical symbol. Every time you go down, the circuit is completed and it makes a noise. And the way you tap it is technically called Morse code. So, for example, two dots could be A, then two dots long press could be B. So the point is they used to just sit there, and I've shown you this image. They used to just sit there. There is one person who taps and there's one person who listens. So very simply, so he listens and he keeps on writing. What is that? So they know that, for example, 2 dash dot, dash dot dot, dot dot dot, and then if you want to stop, 1 dot. So this is CAT, C-A-T, and then stop. So very simply, they used to send signals via this. So they used to say, and then you can't send very big messages, but it said train, T-R-A-I-A-N, train, left station. So they very simply just used to say basic standard messages. And the telegraph was very, very important. Again, Dalhousie, who's considered technically the builder of modern communications in India, he made sure that the telegraph lines were laid along with the railway tracks. So very simply, telegraph is a very important technology which connected India and England at this point of time, because there was a telegraph line which was laid from Calcutta to England via land route, so that the court of directors could talk to the governor of Bengal in that sense. So very small messages, but very, very important. You know why the revolt of 1857 failed? Why did it fail in certain sectors? Because the non-unity is there, but because when the Delhi was caught by the Sipahis, before Delhi was caught, the telegraph operator sent a message to Calcutta saying Delhi has fallen. And if that telegraph line would have been cut, the British would never get to know that Delhi was actually fallen. So the Sipahis were very clear and very smart in doing it in Meerut. Meerut, first thing, they broke the telegraph line. but in Delhi they were not able to do it. So a very simple message was communicated to Punjab and Calcutta that Delhi has fallen, and they knew that Delhi was now under siege. We'll discuss all these things when we'll discuss 1857 coming soon. So 1853, same time as which the first railway track was brought in, a telegraph line was there between Calcutta and Agra. Dalhousie also introduced postage stamps, and previous cash payments were removed. So basically, you don't have to pay money to send a letter. You just buy a stamp and put it on the letter itself. The postage and telegraph department was also established, and later he will cut the charge. Previously, what used to happen was distance did not matter. It was just the weightage. So what he did was that it was costing the company quite a lot. So he said that distance will also be calculated so that the rate or how many stamps you need to put in will also be there. But again, you don't have to. Why? We'll discuss 1857, then we'll discuss why it failed, this and that. Don't go there. Simple point is 1853, first telegraph line, first railway line. Can you remember these two things? Can you remember these two things? Because there's nothing here. There's nothing here. Telegraph and railways, simple point, tandem to each other, work together, and we'll discuss the implications of this further as we go on. Now, I want to discuss modern education policy. Basic one more time, railways for exploitation of India, telegraph to make sure that railways work better, and for communication. Simple point is railways, unintended consequence, mass nationalism, and telegraph was a very important tool of rule itself. Again, Yashika, I'm not discussing why 1857 failed here. I'm not taught you 1857. So why would I teach you here? Postage stamp, Shalu, simple point is previously it was just based on buying 1 rupee, 2 rupee stamp. Distance of the postage does not matter. But later Dalhousie changed that system. Distance also mattered as much as weight of the thing. Okay. Again, does not really matter in our discussion. Telegraph is a modern education, modern communication tool needed for railways, because you need to put in schedules and tell where the train is. And simple point is was established in 1853. Can you remember these three basic points? Yes. Can we discuss education policy, which is much more important to our story? Dalhousie is the person who did both trains and telegraph. Okay. Or that question was not about this. Okay. Now, please understand one thing. I've discussed with you Advent. Then I've discussed with you expansion. Then I've discussed with you economic exploitation now. And I've also discussed with you administrative consolidation. Yes, Dalhousie introduced trains, Dalhousie introduced telegraph. Administrative consolidation. Now, the point of the matter is we need to understand the justification of the rule of what we call as the rule in India, which is called social. Now we are going into the social. Now the basic question which I'm going to ask you here is very simple, is that education policy embodies in itself a very simple question. How do we rule India? What is the purpose of rule in India of the East India Company? Please tell me. What is the purpose? The purpose is profit. Now we know that they want money. But the point is that how should we rule that we get maximum number of profit without touching too many things? Yes, Chaluvadi, yes. So you understand the dilemma of the British. Basically, this is called the philosophy of rule. Philosophy of rule. Please pay attention. It's very interesting. Basically a mains-ish area. So you need to conceptually be clear. The question from prelims, there will be no question more. The question from prelims is most probably going to be what is called Wood's dispatch, this Hunter Commission, this and that. But this is a very mains area. I need to exploit you. But how do I exploit you? Do I make you feel that you are being ruled by someone else? Or do I rule in a way that is beneficial to me? Stop typing, listen to me. I'm asking you a very important question. Do I rule you in a certain way that you feel that nothing changed, but I'm a new ruler? Or should I rule you in such a way that is beneficial to me, but makes it obvious that there is someone new? And this is the dilemma which the British were caught up till 1833-35 period. So basically between till 1833 and till 1830, this basic cutoff date, 33, this period, they're caught up in a major problematic dilemma. There's a dilemma. How do we exploit India? How do we exploit India? And it was about, see, if you will exploit, see, it's the white man, it is the white man's burden to make the barbaric brown man educated. And this was the moral justification which they gave to themselves, that we are here to civilize. We are here to civilize the Indian. For that you need education. And that is why it is in the educational sphere that there was a major debate which was eschewing and it was developing. Basic point is, how do I exploit you? You are uncivilized, I have to educate you. You are uncivilized, I have to technically fully exploit you. But how do I do it? Are you getting the question which is there in the mind of the British at this point of time? Are you getting this question? Are you getting my point? The question is very simple. How do I rule you and exploit you at the same point of time? How do I rule you and exploit you at the same point of time? Again, I'm not saying new words. I'm just saying this simple point. How to rule and exploit without creating rebellion and also not investing too much. This is called the philosophy of the rule. I don't want to put in too much money. I really don't want to put in too much money. And if I don't want to put in too much money, I really don't also want to undercut my own interest. So the philosophy of rule is that how do I rule you, exploit you, but make sure that there's no rebellion, and that my investment is also more or less zero. Is this question correct? Then I will tell you what is the two dilemmas which are there. How to exploit in such a way that there is least resistance. Again, understand this. How to exploit India in such a way that we don't resist. It's about a social question. If you will exploit too much, there will be rebellion. If you change too much, see, the British could do two things. Come in India, disrupt everything, or not disrupt anything. That is the basic point. Revenue administration has been changed. But it's about how do I rule you without you not letting get to know that I'm ruling you for exploitation. Now I've at least said it in 7 different ways. Can I discuss the two answers to this question? Okay, great. Now, this is called, or this is the, there are 2 answers to this question. One is called Orientalism. One is called Orientalism, which a lot of officers used to, initial officers such as Hastings, Colebrook, Mackenzie, William Jones, a lot of officers which used to think like this, and their basic understanding was very simple. Respect Indian institutions, revive them for exploitation, minimal intervention, act like you're just a continuation of Mughal rule, and rule and exploit through ancient and medieval institutions. And their basic point is, do not touch the society. No, Yuvraj, no. Do not touch the society. No rebellion will happen if we do not touch too many things. Illusion, it's an illusion of continuity. See, these officers are called Orientalists. This is the basic Anubhav. Very good. This is why they never took Nizamat power, or what is called Nazim's power. They were happy to take the Diwani power because they exploit by keeping Reza Khan in front. They say that the Mughal institutions are good enough to exploit. Let us just revive them and give an illusion to the Indians that we are just the new Mughals. That is why you would have heard a book by William Dalrymple, White Mughals. Because the initial officers used to dress like the Mughals, they had etiquettes like the Mughals, they used to have all things, everything, enjoy opium, hookah, everything. These Europeans, these officers thought, we will do minimal intervention, we will not touch too many things, and let them rule through their own institutions, and nothing is going to change. Mackenzie. That is why in Hastings judicial model, who used to sit with the judge? Who used to sit with the judge? The Qazi and the Pandit. Why? Because Hastings wants to give an illusion that we are just there. Your Qazi and Pandit is telling you what to do. Ignore the European in the room. We are not looking. We are not looking. It is you who rules yourself. It is you who rules yourself. Are you getting the illusion which the Orientalists are trying to create? That basically rule via their own institutions. Rule via their own institutions. Is everybody with me? Because then I'll tell you the other side of the story. Now, tell me, what is minimal intervention? Don't touch the institution. Don't change too much. See, it is very simply, it's about, you are preparing for UPSC. You are preparing for UPSC. So now I'm your teacher. I come and meet you. And now you were taught by someone else previously. I come there and my concept is you will change me or you will rebel if I start to change too many things. So I give you a basic illusion of control by doing what your previous teacher was doing. Therefore, you think your preparation is also going well. I am also teaching you. I am technically getting what I want, which is the salary which you give me. But you are in an illusion of continuity. The Mughals went and the English came. The Mughals went, the English came. The English are nothing but an extension of the Mughals. Because the English fear rebellion. If you don't touch too much, people are not going to say anything. Is this point clear? I need everybody's yes, no. I need you to understand this because then you understand education policy. Simple point. Simple to simple point is don't touch too much. Let them think they've been still being ruled by their own rulers, which are the Mughals. So you mask yourself as a continuation of the Mughals. But there's a problem. There's a problem. What would be the problem of using old institutions? Yashovarman, let the NCERT say a lot of things that is for children. They genuinely respected Indian culture. That is not true. It's all in power play. What is the problem of using old institutions? Social injustice. Stick to old methods. See, old institutions were not made for exploitation. Basically, this is an inefficient way to exploit. Very inefficient way to exploit. There was no Mughal tax which was 90%. There was no Mughal tax which removed the peasantry from their private property. There was no Mughal institution which literally induced famines. So as much as this works, it's a very inefficient way of exploiting. You don't touch too much, but you don't touch too much, then how do you exploit more? Are you getting my point? Please follow the train of thought here. Understand it. I don't touch too much, but the institutions which were there were not for that level of exploitation which was there or what was needed by the British. So I can go with this model, but it doesn't give me anything. So now rises the other side of the story. And the other side of the story are called the Anglicans or the utilitarians. Utilitarians or utilitarianism. Utilitarians say remove all old institutions, create institutions which effectively exploit, but rather than giving them an illusion of continuity, create a new social category or new social class which can be loyal to you. Utilitarians very simply say social change is necessary for proper rule and exploitation. I'll tell you a very simple example of this. I'll give you a very simple example of this. I don't use cigarette. A Britisher came and gave me a whole pack of cigarettes. What will I do with it? What will I do with it? I don't drink cigarette. I don't smoke cigarette. I don't like cigarette. So what will the British try to do? Under utilitarianism, under the Orientalists say, don't give them cigarette. Give them bidi. What they smoke, let them take it. But the utilitarians say that what is the point of giving them something which is already there? I want to sell cigarette to you. So what I will do is that I will create in you a urge, or I will socially engineer your behavior. Utilitarians said that produce a new type of culture which I will call middle class intelligentsia. The English educated Indians who speak like an English, who drink like an English, who smoke like an English, who eat like an English, but don't look like an Englishman. Utilitarians said, you fear rebellion, find another royal or loyal class. See, they say social change is necessary. Remove old, inefficient institutions. They say, and this is based on Bentham's idea, greatest good of greatest number should be your guiding principle. But who does the greatest good of greatest number? Who's good and whose number? Indians or Europeans? Britishers. Not greatest good of us, greatest good of them. Greatest good of greatest number, and that can only come through when we create a new class which can be loyal to us and stop rebellions. Now let me first summarize these two and we'll bring in education. One says don't change a lot of things. One says have to change a lot of things. One says minimal intervention. The other one says for our greatest good and for the greatest number, we have to change. Inefficient exploitation, new institutions of exploitation. But the basic point of the matter is you need to socially engineer. So now there were two options which the British had when it came to education in India. Teach in vernacular, which is Indian language, or teach in English. The Orientalists would prefer what? English or vernacular? Anglicanist name, I will tell you, don't worry. Anglicanist names you want Anglicanist names? Cornwallis, Bentinck, Macaulay, you can say anybody after Bentinck is a utilitarian only. Now, yes, very good. You've already answered to me. The Orientalist would say vernacular and the utilitarian would say English. Now, very simply, if you are following my train of thought, try to understand. The education policy in India became a site of debate over should we go for English education or should we go for madarsas, Sanskrit schools, or go for old institutions. While this debate over English and vernacular seems superficial, There's an underlying debate under it. How do we rule? Should we change too much or should we not change too much? Therefore, this Anglican English friction, it's called the Anglican English or the vernacular Anglican debate. The vernacular Anglican debate gives us an opportunity to see the dialectics, or what we call as dilemmas within the empire, to see how to rule. Are you getting my point? English education and the vernacular education debate in India was not a debate just about education. It was about two philosophies of rule. One philosophy says, don't change too much. Second says, change everything. First protects you from rebellion by showing that I am the same person. Second protects you from rebellion by creating a class which can actually help you. But tell me the problem in the utilitarian approach. Tell me the problem in the utilitarian approach. Tell me the problem in utilitarian approach. Not aggressive, not resistance, not lower section, not to apply, not inferiority. What they produce is an English, yes, very good. Path, very good. Backfire, very good. English educated elite or middle class Indian. But if I remember well, aren't these the same people who became moderates? Basically, if you teach them English education, they will get to know liberty, freedom, fraternity, concept of justice, concept of law. The utilitarians sow the seed of Indian nationalism. Understanding that this is why it's such a difficult question which the British are trying to fathom. If I don't change too much, I cannot exploit, but I can rule for longer. But if I change everything and I teach them Western ideologies, and Western ideologies are actually based on the concept of liberty, freedom, fraternity, democracy, constitutional government, then the same English educated elite will then say, okay, if there's something called freedom, then why do I don't have it? Then why don't I have it? Dadabhai Naoroji, G.V. Joshi, R.C. Dutt are all products of this process. Basically, Raja Ram Mohan Roy, Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, basically, the utilitarians will win this battle. I will show you the way it manifested itself. But the genesis of Indian nationalism is not that they fall from the sky. ऐसे आसमान से नहीं गिर जाते. They all were created through the same process of colonialism. Are you seeing that I'm now pivoting towards nationalism? I'm telling you where the British went wrong. The British had a very good model. But the problem is that they created their own demise. Utilitarianism works well, but it cannot work for long, because the same people you are exploiting will start to ask, why are you exploiting me? If you actually understand what I'm saying, you will see that how I've decoded nationalism for you and decoded colonialism for you. Colonialism is not a very easy task. You need to be very, very wary of what you do. If I teach you too well, you can become my teacher. Are you getting my point? I have two options. Teach you enough so that you don't replace me, or teach you good enough that you have the capability of replacing me. This is the question which the British is trying to grapple. Is everybody following this concept? Orientalism will take you far but will not help you get a lot of money. Utilitarianism will not take you far but it will help you exploit. So the British, tight spot. Can we now understand how it in the education policy it manifested itself? Are you all understanding the purpose of this discussion? I understand the purpose of this discussion. I have told you economic logic, I've told you their advent and expansion, but now I'm telling you the problem with their own understanding. This is something which you would have to do in optional history, but I teach it here because I believe that you should be able to think like a European, but you should also be able to understand why would the Europeans have a certain orientation at one point of time, and why would the English change their orientation. So in India, it is believed that between 1765 to 1813, 33 period, this 20-year period is a little bit of gray area. This period, Orientalists dominate. The Anglicanists. How can they exploit in utilitarianism and not in Orientalism? Both exploit. It is about degree of exploitation. It's about, should I stab you or should I cut you open? If I stab you, I can take out the blood for some time, but for a long period of time. But if I put that knife and open you up, then the blood will come very quickly, but you will not survive for a long time. So it's about either killing quickly or killing slowly. Orientalism says, just put the knife, halka sa. You put it, then let it drop bit by bit. You will not even feel it. But utilitarians say, just put it and open, let the blood gush out, but then you will not survive for a long period. Grapple meanings to control. I'm trying to give you as graphic as an example. The basic point is about how do you see it? How do you see it? Simple point is, how do I exploit you? That is the question. Okay. And it is believed that after 1833-35 till 1947, Anglicans dominate the philosophy. And this is why you will see that in this period, most of the institutions are what? Vernacular. But after that, it isn't. Now, can I talk to you about this now concept, Orientalism, utilitarianism? What is the difference? I've been saying this for the past 45 minutes. Orientalists believe don't change too much, slow exploitation. Utilitarians say change everything, quickly exploit, but that will create a problem later. Okay. Why they change it, sir? Because between 1765 and 1833, nothing was coming out of India the level they wanted to. Okay. Along with pragmatism that demanded continuation of existing system, there was a respect for traditional Indian culture that was expressed by Warren Hastings. But Warren Hastings is not anybody who you can just wash with milk. Doodh ka dula nahi hai. He is equally problematic, and he is the same person who is doing farming out system. So don't think that the Orientalists are good people. Pragmatism means practicalness. It meant an attempt to learn about Indian culture through a study of scriptures, Sanskrit, Persian languages, and use that knowledge in matters of governance. It is about ruling like an Indian. It's about ruling like an Indian. So, in the initial period, the way the Orientalists were able to manifest this understanding was that, for example, please note this, Calcutta Madrasa will be established by Warren Hastings in 1781. And here he will be talking about Muslim law, Muslim subjects. So he is now masking his rule, neither are good for us. He is now masking his rule by saying, okay, we will teach you in vernacular your own institutions. Then Jonathan Duncan is going to establish the Sanskrit College. And here in 1791, they will start to understand Hindu philosophy. Fort William College will be established by Wellesley, which will later be closed, but that was the major danger here. And one of the most important, what we call as a product of this whole process, is still which is called Asiatic Society of Bengal, but now also exists, which is called the Asiatic Society of India. And this is actually produced via William Jones in 1784, and he will be the one who will be the president of the Fort William itself, the presidency of the Fort William, and he will be a very important personality. Basic point is that the Orientalists have an edge at this point of time. Orientalists have an edge, and I can tell you how this Orientalism was exploiting, but disastrously. What was Hastings' policy? What was Hastings' policy of taking out money out of India? The land revenue settlement which Hastings introduced was, we will give it to anybody who is ready to give us money. He was not ready to introduce too many big elements in that. District collector is there, we will give it to anybody who is ready to give us money. Highest bidder, does not matter. Why are they giving education? They are giving education because they need to justify their rule in India. So the reason why they are trying to educate us is white man's burden. Oh yes, I'm looting you, but I'm also educating you. This whole concept is that the British had to do something to show to the world that we are in India doing good. And that is why the need for education. Simple point. See, a lot of you are not able to grapple the concept holistically. British are exploiting India. Can we agree to that? That is the whole story I told you yesterday. Can we agree to that point? Yes, British are exploiting India. But now, how do they show it to their own people and to the whole world that they are doing good in India? And therein comes education, social religious reform movement, this and that. Now, behind that mask of education is nothing but the philosophy of the rule to make sure that this hand can go as forward as possible. Exploitation can only survive if I mask my rule in the right way, which is I am doing good. So education. Are you getting my point? British don't do anything for the good of India. The British are one highest level of con artists. There is no word which has been made for Britishers in the whole history of abuses in the world, because they say to the world, we are in India to educate them, and they are exploiting in the back. So this is the drama which they're putting up. The Orientalists are literally putting up a drama to say we are here to do good. See, I'm teaching them Sanskrit. That is their own language. You will study Sanskrit with me. Yes. And then I will go and take out your purse. This is the basic point here. We don't understand what is actually happening. This is the point. Why, Pritham? This is the point. This is the problem here. That we don't understand what is the underlying logic. When we talk about the Anglicanists, the English education people, initially they don't have a lot of leverage because the British did not follow this policy. But English education in India was pushed via the concept of, yes, Pritham, why not? Via the concept of what we call as charity schools. But the most important, it's yes, you can say that they wear the mask of education, social religious reform, sati, infanticide to exploit us. That's a very, very good way of saying it. Why not? The simple point of the matter is Anglicanists were also there in India, but their hands were tied up at this point of time. Their hands were tied up at this point of time. The only way they were able to push English education was the Calcutta, Madras, Bombay, some missionary schools. Basically, the company did not support any way of education via English till 1813. The question was not there. So they operated via the Dutch colony, the Danish colony of Serampore, and they spread the message of English education. You know who pointed out? That Sati was bad for the first time? Who pointed out that Sati was bad for the first time? Albuquerque is there. The biggest critique of Sati in India were the missionaries. They went to Hastings and said, you say rule through old institutions. Their institution is burn their women on the funerary pyre of the husband. This is vernacular education for you. So the missionaries are showing to the British that this strategy will not work. Because if you will perpetuate the same thing, then how do you justify your own people? So the missionaries in India at this point of time were very eager to push English education, but the company did not want to push English education at this point of time. So the Orientalists will dominate the initial period till 1813. Are you able to understand why the missionaries are so active at this point of time? They are trying to point out the problems in using Orientalism. Using Orientalism means supporting all old institutions. But in India, social institutions include non-widow remarriage, child marriage, sati, dowry, social exclusion of women, basically all social evils only. So the basic point of the matter is that Orientalism will dominate, but the first effort is going to be, in the English direction is going to be missionaries. Okay. Don't bring Albuquerque into the story. Albuquerque is a Portuguese. His logic is totally different. We are discussing English. Okay. Yes, that is two parts. The dilemma also is very, very directly proportional to how much of India they control also. But now something changes in 1813. Something changes in 1813. 1813. Can I discuss why 1813 is so important? See, are you able to understand the logic of this discussion? Orientalism and what we call as Anglicanism? Yes or no? Yes or no? Yes? I need that first understanding. Missionaries will support Anglicans. Yes, very good. To whom do they want to show? To the world and to their own public opinion in England. Right. See, because it's the company who is doing. See, simple point is it's the company which is ruling, not the British East India, not the British. So the company also had to be answerable to the people of England. And their understanding was, we are educating them. We are educating them. And the drama is going to happen in 1813. Who is good? No one is good. Again, no one is good. Neither Orientalism is good, neither Anglicanism is good. Okay, now, see. Before 1813, Orientalists are left, right and center dominating. But now in 1813 comes the Charter. And I'll discuss the Charter Acts with you. Comes the Charter. It's an act which comes from England, which perpetuates the what we call as monopoly of the English in India. That East India Company rules in India via the Charter, which authorizes it to be in India as the only British power. And this Charter had a clause. 1 lakh rupees will be granted by the Crown to the East India Company to spread education in India. Very simply, this is the drama which they do. Crown is also saying, yes, we are supporting education. See, I know that two things which are happening together, that is why it's becoming a little bit difficult to understand. One is their exploitative agenda, and the second is their outward projection. What are Charter Acts? We will discuss. It's an act which comes from England. I will discuss that with you. Basically, there's an outward projection to the world, and there's an inward demand or an inward concept. Internally, or with, what is their ulterior motive? What is their ulterior motive? Crown is involved in companies only through the charter. What is their ulterior motive? Larger motive is what? Exploitation. But they can't go and say this to the people of England, that we, the East India Company, which has a charter, we are here to literally kill every Indian and drink their blood and technically bring all their money to India. That they can't say. That they can't say that we are there to literally loot India. So the East India Company, on the other hand, in England creates a narrative that we are trying to educate the Indians, and that is our process, and that is why we are there. We are not just a trading body. We are also doing good. You understand CSR, corporate social responsibility. CSR is when the company does good for the people. Understand this as CSR. This company literally kills people. But in the whole world, it goes and says, I educate people. Are you getting my point? Are you all with me? I'm trying to emphasize this very simply because I want you to understand it. Because if you understand it, you will understand nationalism better. Okay, very good. Everybody has to say yes or no, then I go forward, because then I talk about what the 1 lakh is going to do. Yes, to the world they are showing that they're educating, but they're actually exploiting. Very good, very good, very good. Now, 1813 Charter Act gives 1 lakh rupees. Now, it's about what area should this money go to? What area should this money go to? The Anglicans say, put this to English education. Put this to English education. Whilst the other side, other half, Orientalists, say put it into vernacular education. But the basic point here is, this is a major debate. This is a major debate. Yeah, that's a very good example, Yashovarman. Taliban is making hospitals and schools. This is literally the Taliban making schools. Very good. A terrorist making schools and hospitals is a very good example of how the English is projecting its inward and outward agenda. Very good. So the Anglicans say English education and the Orientalists say vernacular education. Now what is going to happen is that between 1813 and 1823, this money will not be allocated only, because there is too much debate in India. There's too much debate in India. And finally in 1823, under this act, what will be established is called the Committee of General or Public Instruction. Public Instruction. This is the department created for the instruction of the people. Now, between 1833 and 1823-ish period till 35, this debate will still dominate and the money will not be allocated either way. But the tide will turn when two people will rise. Bentinck, the Governor General of India, who himself is a utilitarian, he believes efficient exploitation of India, and he will give the presidentship of this committee to Macaulay. And in 1835, Macaulay is going to publish a very important minute. Minute means an order. And that in turn will shift the focus and totally destroy the vernacular education logic. And in that minute, what Macaulay is going to say is that why are we so obsessed with vernacular education? Why are we so obsessed with vernacular education? When one shelf of an British English library is better than and has more knowledge than the whole scriptures in India. Macaulay is utilitarian. He said that you bring the Dharma Shastra, the Puranas, the Vedas, the Upanishads, Ramayana, Mahabharata, Buddhist texts, Jain texts, all of them together, and one shelf of the European library is greater than that. And this minute will therefore kill the Orientalist agenda. More than that, by 1833, the company was also becoming impatient. It was now controlling most of India. And the Orientalists were not doing anything. They were not able to exploit. They were not able to do anything generally. So very simply, the people who believed the church that the earth was flat, who were literally zero themselves, we gave them zero. The people who believed and still believe in parts of world that the earth is flat, these people are telling us that our scriptures are useless. And this is the point where the Orientalist agenda technically was killed. And the Anglicanists actually succeeded in creating a concept that we will rather educate the Indians in English education, create a new class called the middle class intelligentsia, the middle class educated Indian, will teach him to drink wine, smoke a cigarette, drink tea, and read English books. He will think like an English. He will basically be an English in everything except for his skin is going to be brown. And this debate, as much as it is insignificant or not taught or not studied or not known, is a very important debate for how India was going to be exploited. Finally, the Orientalists who were saying, let's act like Mughals, were defeated. And that is why after 1835, we now have full push for English education, engineering institutions. We also now start to change our dressing style, the way we dress today. You know what you wear today as your pants. You've seen trousers? You wear trousers? Yes, they're called chinos. Chinos, trousers, yes. You wear jeans and trousers. Trousers were actually the British military pants, which were brought to India and given to every Indian that you wear trousers. Basically, the more efficient way of exploitation was chosen. Make sense? Can we read this out of the PPT? Very good. So I hope that you are at least finding this interesting, or at least finding, or you're at least able to see the hypocrisy of this story. That they did anything and everything to justify their point. Right? Okay. So as I said, there were the initial what are called Orientalists, and then there were the I'll show you the minute, and then there were the Anglicanists. Now, the Charter Act of 1813 comes, and the company is directed that you will be paid 1 lakh rupees annually for education. Now the debate is should it be Western education or Orientalist education? It was to encourage the native to learn literature and revive and improve their literature. The Anglicanists were not in favor of the Orientalists controlling education. And due to this controversy, for 10 years, this money will not be allocated. Now, the controversy, as I said, the controversy from 1823 will be once in the General Committee of Public Instruction will be set up to look into education. The most of the members initially were Orientalists and they were asking for vernacular education. However, this debate will be killed once Macaulay is going to become the president of the General Committee of Public Instruction 1834, and he will come up with this plan that we will create an Indian middle class intelligentsia. For example, Raja Ram Mohan Roy himself, and they said that we will create more Raja Ram Mohan Roys so that we can perpetuate colonialism in India. But they forgot that the same Raja Ram Mohan Roys will also destroy in that sense. The basic point of the matter is that Lord Bentinck was also an Anglicanist, and once Macaulay is going to give the famous minute, it will in turn end the debate itself. Would you like to see the minute? Orientalists are Hastings and people who want to do colonialism in the old style way. Okay. How Anglicans succeeded in exploiting India? Everything what happens after 1835 is all India getting exploited properly. Deindustrialization, commercialization, everything. Okay. Now you see, this is the line which he used. I have never found one among them. Them means Orientalists. Them means Orientalists. Who would deny that a single shelf of a good European library was worth the whole native literature of India and Arabia. The intrinsic superiority of Western literature is indeed fully admitted by the members of the committee who support Orientalist plan of education. And basically, this will in turn make English education the medium of instruction. Now, English will dominate via what is called the downward filtration theory, and Macaulay will change the tide of this whole debate. Now, what is downward filtration concept? Everybody understands the debate and you understand the conclusion of the debate also. Come on, everyone. Very good. Perfect. Legislation passes from England. I will discuss Charter Acts with you. Don't worry about that. Okay, very good. Now, if there's a pot of what, if there's a pot in which you have put a plant, when you water the plant, do you take out the plant, mix water with the soil and put it back? No. What you do is that you water it on the top and the water goes down. Yes. Yes. This is called downward filtration. You water the top, water goes down. So the plan was educate the elites and middle class, and these middle class and educated elites will educate the masses. But you really think this is going to work? Never. But this was the initial understanding. This was the initial understanding. Now, before I go to Wood's dispatch and all, please understand one thing. This topic now pivots from mains to prelims. Mains portion is what is the Orient. I'll give you the question so that you can also practice this. The question is going to come like this. The Anglican and Orientalist debate in education was linked to the larger philosophy of rule and exploitation of India. Do you agree? 250 words. Will you be able to write this answer after the discussion I've had with you? Yes? Yes. So now the first purpose of this topic is done. The first purpose of this topic is done. The second purpose, can I now go into the prelims oriented aspect? Everybody has to be more enthusiastic, has to tell me what is happening. You have to do that basic rule. You have to tell me. Great. Okay. Now the aspect related to prelims are technically the commissions of education, and basically what comes in the examination is that they can ask you to put all of these commissions in chronological order. Chronological order. Now, if I have your permission, I would like to write all the commissions down and then give you a trick to learn it, and then we'll talk about the commissions. We can do that? Perfect, perfect, perfect. The first commission is technically called Wood's Dispatch. Called Wood's Dispatch. So we'll write it down. We'll write it down here. Wood's Dispatch. He's a Britisher who sends a dispatch from England saying that your downward filtration is not working. Then the second commission is called Hunter Commission. It's called Hunter Commission. See, you have Hunter Commission 1882, but this doesn't matter to us though. Then will be Ray Commission. Ray Commission. Ray Commission. What are these commissions? I will tell you. First listen, first learn them. What is more important for me is that you are able to do the question. Now, thereafter comes three commissions together. Raleigh, whatever you want to call it. Wait one second. R-A-L, Ray. Now, Sadler, Hartog, Sargent. Sadler, Hartog, and Sargent Commission. Please pay attention. Never in your life will you ever forget this, like the wars. After Sargent, there is something called the engineering, and that does not matter. These are the basic commissions to us. Now, how do you learn them? Wohura sad her sir. Wohura sad her sir. Wo, Wood's Dispatch. Who, Hunter Commission. Ray. Sad her sir. Sadler, Hartog, Sargent. Wohura sad her sir. Don't change the sequence because they're in sequence. Say it with me. SLM is something totally different. The problem of using S is that there are twice their S. So say it with me. Wohura sad her sir. Wohura sad her sir. Wo, Wood's Dispatch. Who, Hunter. Ray. Sadler, Hartog, sir. Is this clear? Then I give you a question right now and you will put it into chronological order. Wohura sad her sir. Come on with me. Say it. Don't care where you're sitting. Wohura sad her sir. If you will say it, you will automatically get a basic sequence. Wohura sad her sir. Everybody is ready to do a question. Come on. Is everybody ready to put all of them in chronological order? Ready? Very good. You are born ready? Very good. Consider the following: 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Right? Ray Commission, Hunter Commission, Sargent, Sadler, Hartog. Put this in chronological order. Come on. Very good. How do we do it? I write in the examination, Vohura Sadhar Sir. Now I'm going to look for it. Who, ra, sad her sir, sad her sir. Will you ever forget it? No? Write it down. 2 times say it to your parents. Maybe get slapped for it also. But remember, Vohura sad her sir. Vohura sad her sir, and you will never forget it. So we have done SLM, which is what? For the Femine Commissions, Sarche, Lyell and MacDonald, and Vohura sad her sir for education. Now can we discuss about them, which is the most descriptive part, does not really matter. Just start to say it in the examination out loud. These are tricks which you keep it to yourself. Right? Okay. Vohura sad her sir. You can add a word or here, just don't change that sequence, because the sequence itself is basically their chronological order. Any other candidate will start to learn their dates, which is not important for us. Can we now discuss how does education develop in India then? Now this is the whole descriptive part. Some things are important, I'll mark them for you. Everything is making sense till this point. Education now, can you conquer both education, the mains and prelims question? Yes, you can. Great. Vohura sad her sir. There will be great upsurge in activities of the missionaries as soon as the Anglicans are going to win. Medical colleges, engineering colleges, law colleges, all will be established. One of the first colleges to be established in India under the Anglican push is the Elphinstone College and the Calcutta Medical College. Elphinstone College again still remains a very beautiful building in South Mumbai, and that was one of the first to be developed under this model. There will also be a sanction for girls' education, and Dalhousie will in fact be the first to say that we need a girls' college also. Now, after 1835 to 54, Macaulay's downwell filtration theory was being used. However, the president of the Board of Control, I will discuss you who is the Board of Control when we'll discuss the concept of Pitt's India Act, but it's called Wood's Education Dispatch. He will dispatch an order to Dalhousie that they need to change their education system. And Wood's Education Dispatch is technically considered the Magna Carta, the Constitution of English Education in India, because it created the structure which to some level we use till today. What did he say in the Wood's Dispatch? Rejected the filtration theory that downwell filtration does not work. Mass education and improvement of vernacular should be there, and secular education should be there. traditional education should be ignored fully, and he created the concept of primary, secondary and university level, that everywhere there should be division in education. Again, do you need to learn all of this, yes or no? You tell me the answer to that question. Do you need to learn all of this? No. Just understand, he is the Magna Carta. What is the Magna Carta of education in India? Woods Dispatch. Simple. Don't complicate it. Supported education through grant. Modern education should be imparted, but vernacular education should not be ignored. English should be the medium of education in higher education. Primary and secondary should be vernacular education. Ironically, this is what we follow till today. When you're in school, you can be taught in vernacular languages. However, when we go to college level, you will always be taught in English education. And that is the basic point here, that they created this division: primary, secondary, vernacular, higher education, English. Now, Hunter Commission will come, and based on the concept of Woods Dispatch, the education department will be created in Bombay, Madras, Northwestern Province and Punjab. But the most important is that on the just before the fateful 1857, Calcutta, Bombay, Madras universities will be established. So the University of Calcutta, University of Bombay, University of Madras, January, July and Madras, September will be established, and then Punjab and Allahabad. These are considered all of the oldest institutions in India. Oldest being the University of Calcutta, then University of Bombay, or now University of Mumbai, University of Madras, which is nothing but University of Chennai, and Punjab and Allahabad. If you're from any of these institutions, this is your history. Basically, Delhi University is 1922. It's very late. So simply Calcutta, Bombay, Madras, Punjab, Allahabad. Right? Okay. Punjab University, one of the oldest. Now Hunter Commission comes. It is coming under a Governor General called Ripon, and he will be asked to check the Woods Dispatch working. He recommended that local bodies should be given primary education, and said that government should only maintain some schools, not all. Public schools should be less, private schools should be more. And he will technically divide the concept of secondary education into university and vocational. Vocational means skill development. So he said that we can have ITI, we can have these things, but we have university education for basically the concept of academics, and vocational for skill development, plumbers, this and that. Thereafter, REI comes under Curzon. And I will discuss REI with you again, because Curzon had a very standard agenda. 1902 is the height of nationalism in Calcutta. So he will try to take away the power from the universities and rather keep it to the government, give it to the government. Tell me why this clause will come. Appointment of lecturers, professors should be done with the approval of the government. Tell me why would you want? I will tell you, Vivek, what to do with Governor Generals. Why would he want? He would want to do this because he would not like nationalists to enter and become lecturers. So nationalism was rising at this point of time. So to prevent nationalism to enter, that way, government now had all the power. University power was lost. We will discuss this. It's called Universities Act. We will discuss it when we'll talk about the Swadeshi movement. Thereafter, Sadler comes under Chelmsford. 2 Indian members were also there. The 12-year concept, first class, second class, this for 12th, 1 to 12th, this comes under him. And he also is the one who introduces what is called the degree course of 3 years, BA Honors. So the Sadler Commission introduced this concept, 12 years of education. Technically, we have 14 years, 2 years of preschool and then 12 years of schooling, and the concept of BA Honors. Don't have to learn any of this. Enjoy. Don't have to learn any of this. Don't get caught up in any of this. Thereafter, 12 new universities will be opened. Benares, Mysore, Patna, Aligarh, Dhaka, Lucknow and Osmania. The Kashi Vidyapeeth and the Jamia Millia Islamia will be established. and all these universities will be providing pass course and honors course, BA honors and BA program. Hartog will come. He will say that the situation is deteriorating, policy of consolidation at primary education level, and we said that there should be more emphasis on people going into what we call as industry and commerce career. Somehow they had already predicted what Indian parents are going to do, which is that no, don't let them to go to universities, but they can also become engineers and go for what is called commercial careers rather than going for university education. Thereafter, Sargent, 1944. This is the last act which came before we got independence, known as National Scheme for Education, created after technically 40 years of experimentation, and objective to make sure that Indian colony can be there for 40 more years. They will lose us within 3 years, but they wanted to go for 40 more years till 1984. What did it think of? Elementary and higher education. All children between 6 to 11 should have universal compulsory education. Academic, vocational, and intermediate courses were abolished. Again, all of this is just filler. Engineering colleges will be established. Are you understanding the purpose of this? Are you understanding the purpose of this? All is filler. What you need to know is the initial debate, and second, the Vohura Sad Harsar. I am not asking you to learn any of it. No one has to get caught up into that. Just enjoy the process. That is it. Enjoy. Just listen to me. Engineering. 4 colleges will be established in India. First was called the Thompson College, which is now IIT Roorkee, the oldest engineering college in India, 1847. Then second is the Bengali Engineering College, now one of the most reputed Indian Institute of Engineering, Science and Technology, the IIEST. And these people will play a very important role because they will produce civil engineers which will work in the public works department. So the railways, the bridges, and the roads will be made by these engineering colleges graduates. Both in India and in Britain, all of this, the administration management of what we call as engineers, was done by what is called the Royal Engineers and the Indian Army. Basically, simply, the most important career opportunities for these engineers was to become either a British engineer or become part of the British Indian Army as an engineer, because the military department creates a lot of infrastructure. This trend in civil-military relationship continued with the Royal Indian Engineering College, now called Cooper Hills College, and the Indian Public Works Department will be fully reliant on military engineers till 1947. Again, just basic information. If you are from any of these colleges, you will not get a mains question from this area. You can't write any of this in 250 words. Whatever is written is more than 250 words. You will not say write an short note on engineering colleges in India. That is not the purpose of the discussion. Can we now accept that education policy is clear and all of it is now perfect? Come on. We started simply with understanding drain of wealth. Then we understood famines. Then we did previous year questions. And thereafter, we've now finally discussed education policy. Education policy, again, I want to practice it with you before we go forward. Again, come on. We will practice before we go forward, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Be ready with your hoo-hura. Okay. Now, you have Sargent is done, Sadler, and well, this is enough. Put them in order. Put them in order. One, 4, 5, 3, 2. Okay. So, Vohura sad her sir. So, would, very good one. Then who, 4. Then there's no Ra, there's Sadler, 5. Then 3, then 2. You want to do a war one also? You want to do war? Sachin, I've already given you the article. That is enough for policing. You want to do a war one? Okay. If you're enjoying this, let's do a war one. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 wars. Let's put them in chronological order. Okay. Third Carnatic War. First Mysore War. Second Mysore War. First Maratha War. First Sikh War. Battle of Plassey. Come on. For the push poll, I would have to make 4 options. By the time I will make the options, you will already know which option is correct, because I will put more mind in making that option. So why worry? Very quick in answering nowadays. Very good. 1, 6, 2, 4, 3, 5. This is what everybody is writing. Very good. So let's see why 1. 1 is our trick was what? Carnatic, Bengal, Mysore, Maratha, Sikh, and first Mysore, first Maratha are together. So according to this, Carnatic has to go first. 1, very good. Then Bengal has to go. Very good. 6. Then we have to decide between first Mysore and first Maratha. So first Mysore, then Maratha, then again Mysore, and then Sikh. Make sense, everybody? I hope you are able to do it now. So you remember, right? Very good. Now, SLM, there are only 3. You put them in chronological order. You want to do that also? You want to do that also? You do that also. Okay, there are only 3 of them. McDonald, Sache, and Lil. Now put them in chronological order. SLM. Done. These are the things which students run away from. So I hope that you can actually now understand tricks. If you know, very quickly you can do it. Now comes, we will discuss 2 acts or maximum 1 act. At least we'll start constitutional development. And what is constitutional development? Can we discuss constitutional development? Even if you write a no, I will say I will go on. So I just need your consent. This is called British Orientalism. Give an illusion of continuity and power. Very good. Okay. Now, tomorrow we don't meet. We meet on Monday straight. Meet on Monday. So it's a flawed democracy. Now I'll give you a basic overview. I'll give you a basic overview. See, you understand this first, and then we'll just discuss a little bit of it. You understand this. I'm giving you a very important timeline. And now I will start to play with timelines quite a lot. And basically, timelines will be very, very important for you in the now henceforth. Now, when I talk about constitutional development in India, there are the basic total total acts are like this. See, 1773, 1784, 1793, 1813, 1833, 1853, 1858, 1861, 1892, 1909, 1919, and 1935. These are the total acts which are there in India, and each of them have their own purpose. Each of them have their own purpose. This is called Regulating Act. This is called Pitt's India Act. This is called Charter, and Charter. This is called Government of India Act. Till this point, it is company rule. Crown rule in India is actually introduced. Crown rule in India is actually introduced in via the 1858 Act. I am not forgetting 1781, not important. An amending act is not important for my story. Now, 1861 is, these are called Indian Council Act. Indian Council Act. I am trying to give you a picture. Try to understand this. This is also called Indian Council Act. This is also Indian Council Act, but what is its alternative name? Anybody knows? Morley-Minto Reforms. This is called Government of India Act 1919, but also called the Montagu-Chelmsford Reforms. And this is called the Government of India Act 1935. Basically, this is what is your constitutional history. On Monday, what I am going to do is, I will discuss with you from 1773 to 1853. And once we'll reach nationalism, I'll do each of these, Indian Council Act, Indian Council Act, Indian Council Act, as we go on in nationalism itself. But basically, this is your timeline of constitutional development in India. All acts which are relevant to your preparation is here in this slide. So start to learn this in that sense. Start to learn them in that sense. Now you will say, sir, I will do all of them together. But that is not possible, because if I say that the Morley-Minto reforms are happening for a certain reason and you have no context for Morley-Minto reforms, then it can't be done. This period till 1858 I can do because I have already taught you that point. Here, all this will be done where they need to be. And once I will be done with Government of India Act 1935, I will give you whole summary. So we'll on Monday try to concentrate on the initial period. I'll give you a summary for that. And I'll do all of this area in where they fit in the national movement. And once I reach Government of India Act 1935, this one, then I will give you summary. But please start to just look at this timeline a little bit, because it will help you. It will help you. This is something which you need to know irrespective of anything. Can we agree to this? I'm giving you this timeline. I'll keep on giving you. I will give you close to 30 to 35 timelines. Each of them have their own purpose. Right? Okay, very good. Now, the last thing which I want to discuss with you, one thing, simple point. I will give you a trick to learn them also. They're called coding. Basically, I can give you a taste of that code. For example, I will call it this 73 SCLC GGB plus 4, and this is the basic act itself. This is the basic act itself. I'm just giving you a basic taste of it. What does SC 73 SCLC GGB plus 4 means? 73 Act, Supreme Court will be established, legislative centralization will begin, Governor General will become Governor General of Bengal plus 4 members. So This is called basic trick making. I will give you codes like this. For example, for this, the code is going to be something like this: 84 BOC COD GGB plus 3. If you remember this, you will automatically remember all the provisions. I'm not teaching you anything, but this gives you 84 Board of Control and Court of Directors created. Governor General of Bengal loses one member. Don't worry, I will teach you these things. I understand the importance of these areas, so I will teach you these things, but I will give you codes like this. Each and every has their own code, and each and every has their own purpose. So I hope that you can be excited for this, because this is a very interesting area. I'll keep on giving you flowcharts. We will discuss the structures in flowcharts, and I will give you summaries. Don't worry about that. So we'll give this time on Monday. But one thing I will tell you before I move on: a little bit of pain will come on Tuesday and Wednesday. Little bit, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Please, I'm telling you, because we'll be doing social religious reform and peasant and tribal movement. So these are areas in which it will be painful for me also and for you also. So then you will not be sitting there thinking, where am I caught up? Because you already promised me that you will not judge all 21 modules on these 3 modules. Wars, I've already made you a master of. You all are sitting there putting wars in chronology. But the problem with social religious reform and tribal is, I'll give you a trick to learn them, but the process is painful. Right? You're getting my point. It's a very factual sector. What can I maximum do? I can't bring Raja Ram Mohan Roy and say, now do you tell us what did you do? I will teach you their ideology. I will teach you their understanding. But we'll do this on Monday, constitutional development. But thereafter, Tuesday and Wednesday, a little bit of pain. A little bit of pain. By Thursday, we'll be in 1857. And thereafter, all themes are very interesting. 1857, then we'll discuss moderates, extremists, then we'll discuss advent of Gandhi, then we'll go into now we are actually coming to the business end. We're actually coming to the business end of the examination and the paper itself. So we'll do acts on Monday, and thereafter go into social religious reform, 2 modules, 1 module peasant and tribal, and thereafter 1857 and then nationalism. Right? Can we agree to this? We'll discuss Gandhi Bose, we'll discuss Gandhi Bose Nehru, we'll discuss Dr. Ambedkar and Gandhi, we'll discuss a lot of things. Right? When does modern India end? When we get independence. You will get independence from me also and from the British together. You can't skip social religious reform. That is the problem. Though the ratio of questions is not that big, but you can't skip it. That is the problem. And post-independence is also me only. 3 more classes of pain. And then once LPG is going to come, liberalization, privatization, globalization, you will also get liberalized from me also. How East India Company gave its rule to Crown. Sharafuddin, when you will kill 10,000, your rule is going to lead to 10,000 Europeans dead, then automatically the Crown would have to step in. We'll talk about that. See, simple point. Once you will get a chance to do ancient, medieval, art and culture, world history, everything with me. I will do it with you. Ancient, medieval, art and culture, world history, 4, and modern and post-independence, 6 parts, all with me. Don't worry about that. But right now, basically, we'll finish modern. Modern is a very important part of your syllabus. That is why we do it first. And then we'll go to ancient medieval. Don't worry about that. The essays which I've given you, railways and police, is only for your understanding. Do not expect a question. Now I'll say one thing. It's been a long class and you've been very, very, very conceptually clear and patient. And you performed very well in the examination. So if you don't have a question, you can leave the session. I'm leaving you 5 minutes early today. I'm not going to do anything heavy in the last 5 minutes. So if you don't have any doubt, you can leave the session. Thank you so much for your patience. Have a very productive weekend. I will see you on Monday, same time. Other than that, please remember, things are going to become better. Modern India will start to make more and more sense. I hope the tricks are working. I hope that you're finding it useful for your preparation, because Modern India, a lot of students do themselves. At least I can add some value to your preparation in that sense. So thank you. I will see you on Monday, and very simply, do the weekly tests which will be given to you on Saturday, right? Should we remember these dates? Yes, you have to. You have to. You can't. There are certain dates. I will give you master timeline in which certain dates you can't forget. These are the first set of certain dates you cannot forget. And as it is, you know that this is going to be something which will help you in polity also. Lakshmikant first chapter, this only. Don't worry, Chaluvadi. If you missed any of the modules with me, you will get a chance to repeat it either in morning again or evening or weekend. Don't worry about it. Achha, one important thing which I have already told you but still reiterating, when you're doing previous year questions, don't go beyond 2013. Meaning don't go to 1992, 1991, 1995. Those are not representative questions. How English education helped British exploit us? Because Shalu, if we don't consume English commodities, if we don't dress like an Englishman, then how are they going to sell their shirts and pants to us? Satya, I'm not sure about that. Just email me about that. Post-independent subject, we will discuss regional or reorganization, we'll discuss post-consolidation challenges, we'll discuss Patel's role, we'll discuss role of VP Menon, we'll discuss Junagadh, Kashmir, we'll discuss Hyderabad, we'll discuss regional inequality, linguistic reorganization, everything we'll discuss. Don't worry about that. And all the wars. Yes, Chaluvadi. There will be both prelims, subjective and objective test for tomorrow. No, Shafuddin, you can just concentrate here. Because Kashish, if they're doing good things via education, social justice reform, people think that they're changing India for the good. That is the objection. Right now, I'm not actually even asking you to read Bipin Chandra, because Bipin Chandra will start to make sense once you've done at least 15, 16 modules with me. Parvalika, just make these 2-3 times. You will automatically learn to make them. How many questions asked for Modern India? Prelims 5 to 10, mains 2 to 3. Mohan, no issues. Are you able to follow the class, Mohan? You tell me first this. Don't put Portuguese and the French on timelines. Don't do that. So then, Mohan, whatever you've missed, you can do with me in the next batch. Right now, just follow this. No issues. Okay. Anglican was introduced because Orientalist was doing much good. Yes, Devansh. Orientalism was only leading to more confusion. And basically, Orientalism will be the reason for which the exploitation will be very, very, very insignificant. Samin, I'm not able to see the question. Please put it again. The problem with the Orientalist is too slow and too messy. There is no point ruling through Mughal institutions. Mughal institutions are not made for exploitation. So Jay, again, if you missed the initial classes, the batch will repeat itself again. Don't worry. Exact same modules, exact same PPT. Don't worry about that. Test will come at 9 a.m. I think 9:10 it is uploaded on your dashboard. Yes, answer writing should start right now, Sameem. Anybody preparing for 2024, start answer writing. It will be good for you. Deepika, the quiz will come on your dashboard. The SME will push you the way to find it. Please, SMEs, push the pathway to find the question paper and the both objective and subjective test. Why Kran rule started, I will discuss that with you in 1858. I will discuss that. That is, we have to understand 1857 for that. Normal time of class is 5 to 8:30, Mohan, every day. Weekday. SMEs have pushed it. Not prelims test series. No. Subject matter expert, not prelims test series. I'm discussing their own weekly test. Yes, you can do that, Ravindra, if you want to. It will be hard to write answers initially, but keep on writing, send it to us. We will evaluate and send it back. It will become a loop. Which one do we need to concentrate more on? You need to, since Mughal, concentrate on these themes now more. That is all basic 8 questions have come in the past 10 years. For 2024, don't be a utilitarian and start doing whatever is necessary. Start answer writing. That is very important. You can send us on iaslive@byju's.com. You can send any of the answers you write. Any random question you write an answer, you send it on this. We will evaluate it for you. Samin, you email me if you want. You are still confused about optional and anything. You email me abhishek.mishra19@byju's.com. I'll send it to the mentors. They will figure it out with you. Does the utilitarian scheme of education? No, it only educates a certain section which they can be loyal to. That's it. Okay, thank you. I'll see you on Monday. Always a pleasure. Please take care. Have a very, very productive weekend. I will see you next Monday. See you on Monday rather at 5. Please don't be late and please revise. And I hope everything is making sense. Thank you. Take care and bye-bye.